What's good, Denver? It's Shelly Martinez, your host of Chopping It Up with Shelly at Hollywood Barbershop.
This is the Barbershop. Barbershop. This is the Barbershop. The place where a black man means so.
Shelly over here at Hollywood's Barbershop. I have Reggie in the house tonight. Special guest. He's been with us. How long you been coming to the barbershop?
This location?
Yeah.
Oh, God, since it opened with when Bobby owned it, before Mike bought it.
Really? How long ago was that? You went to the first location?
Yeah,
Where was
over
that?
on Syracuse and Colfax.
Oh my God.
When Bobby, yeah, you don't
Was
know
it?
that?
No, but I bet it was wild.
It was wild.
Was it?
Yeah, it's the, I think it's an Indian restaurant now.
Is it?
Yeah, down there on Colfax.
A respectable place.
It's a
now.
respectable place. Yeah, that's, they had, I used to go to, what's his name, just passed away.
Oh, Roderick.
Roderick. Roderick was the first barber at Hollywood's that I used to go to
Aw.
over there. And,
What a
God rest
character
his
that
soul.
guy was.
Yeah. Tell
He's a
me,
mess.
yeah. Mess! I love him. But yeah, it was definitely.
So, who was your first? So you had Roderick, and then you met Jared. Or
Yeah.
You ended up with Jared.
Well, I ended up with, I had Roderick, and that just got out of control. So then Bobby took over, cut my hair until he
Okay.
came here, and then Jared.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so.
So many years. Thanks for
It's
hanging
been
in there.
30. It's been 25 minimum.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Time flies, doesn't it?
It does. It really does.
So, how long have you been in Denver?
Been in Denver since '93.
Since '93. And where are you from?
From Massachusetts.
Okay.
But I lived in New York City, Manhattan for 7 years before I came out here to
Okay.
Denver.
And what's your profession?
Real estate broker, employee real estate broker.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. How did you get started in Denver?
I came out to work at DIA with my brother. He had a contract for the main terminal doing construction, and I got hurt. And so during that period, I was like, I'm sick of this construction deal. I've got to get into something else. So I went to school at night. It was like 12 weeks, and got my employing broker's license, and that was 94. 95.
What did the market look like back then versus how it looks now?
Okay, so everybody now is all freaked out because interest rates are climbing, and they're like, oh, 6%, and wow. When I started in the business back then in '96, interest rates were 8.5, 8.75.
Wow, so not much different.
Not much different. People buying houses. I actually came in on the upcycle of the first good market. But yeah, interest rates were 8.5, 8.75. So people are all freaked out now, but like I tell people, it's a shock. It's like sticker, it's like, oh man, inflation and all this we're seeing. But, people still got to buy homes. People still got to have places to live. It's going to take them a year and a half to get over the sticker shock of the interest, but they'll be buying homes.
Price value, though, aside from the interest rate, do you feel like homes are going to come down? The price of the home?
Oh yeah,
is gonna come
definitely.
down? But the interest rate may not drop, but the price of the home might be a little
Homes are
bit.
going to come down because Denver was overinflated to begin with.
Oh.
Prices are overinflated. They got to adjust. Yeah. So
How hard was it for you to get into the industry?
I got into the business. It was actually, other than going to school and getting my broker's license, which I crashed it, and
Well, I've heard that it's not that easy,
It's not.
to obtain.
it's really not. You've got to have, I think it's now like 240 some hours. Me, I crashed it because I was like, okay, I want to get at it. I got in the business, Shell, probably the hard way, because I was probably as far as I know, and I started in Cherry Creek because I had no idea of the Denver marketplace. So some lady from this, I just was talking about her the other night, Dixie Jones. called me up and said, hey, because once you graduate from school, all the real estate brokerages get your name and number, and they get your information, and they start recruiting you.
Okay.
And I passed the test. I had like 17 interviews. And I got sick of going on interviews to different companies. And Dixie was one of the, like, she was like the 17th interview in Cherry Creek. I did not know anything about Cherry Creek. I didn't have any friends who had money to buy houses. I didn't have none of that, you know. I had very limited funds myself. I mean, basically, if I hadn't started producing within 3 months of being in the business, I was going to be on my ass in the street. But, so I went to work in Cherry Creek, one of the only people of color. I was the only person who was an employing broker in '96 in Cherry Creek. And as we know it now, you got Country Club. So that's a very affluent neighborhood. And I was talking to somebody last night about this. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. We're going to work in Cherry Creek because
that's like prime real estate in my opinion,
Yeah,
you know, for
but-
central Denver.
oh, well, when I got into it, you know, Cherry Creek wasn't what we see it now as. I mean, it had the stores and had the mall, but the homes were these little, 900-foot, little boxes. One of the guys I came up with, Dave Krieger, down the road, we became partners in a firm. He was one of the first people to start tearing stuff down and developing. And so that's how Cherry Creek got to be what it is. And Dave Krieger was responsible for that. And I came up with him in the same company. I was a workaholic.
That's what it takes.
It does. People don't realize, people are like, oh, I'm going to be a real estate broker. I'm going to go get my license. And I'm going to... They don't really realize that the work that's entailed to get successful. When I got in the business, there was a saying, and it's probably still true to this day. You're not going to know if you're successful for 2 years. So it takes 2 years of hard work for you to stick. You know what I mean? It's like probably any profession. You have to get a base, you gotta get clients, you gotta get referrals. So it takes 2 years to build that, that base. And then you gotta keep going. So I spent a lot of years working 6 days a week, 15 hours a day. I was a workaholic, didn't get married. I had my kids young, I was married before. So I had plenty of time. I had to work, and that's my nature. I'm a hard working, I come in here. Now I don't sell homes anymore. I don't sell people's property.
Yeah.
I invest in and fix up stuff and remodel them and sell them. So that's why you guys see me dirty all the time.
That's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got to be a lot
Well,
more.
I graduated from, being in the business 25 years, you start out selling people's houses. Then I graduated up to doing commercial real estate because I got bored. I'm one of those people that once I get good at something, I got to find something else to motivate me and drive me because it has to be challenging. And so then I went into commercial stuff, selling apartment buildings. Did that for about 10 years. And then at some point in real estate, and probably in everybody's career and different things, and you're in the business talking to people every day, and you got to be on, and you got to be, but after 20 years, it gets old. So that's when I got into just buying properties and fixing them and flipping them and doing more of the development stuff. Because you get tired of, why is my toilet seat green? I bought a house with a toilet seat,
Oh, sure.
Like, go buy another toilet seat.
Yeah.
Don't call me.
I think a lot of people's expectations when they buy stuff, they want it exactly how they envision it, but their bank account isn't set up like that. So you got to get what you can get, and then
Yeah.
eventually you can turn it into
Right,
what you want,
right.
right? But I think the expectation is just too high to begin with,
Well,
Unless you have the money and you can buy it and order it the way you want it.
right,
you
and
know?
that's the thing. In my business, I was fortunate. I like Cherry Creek. It's funny because people always ask me, how do you get started in real estate and get successful and make money? It's the hard work. It doesn't matter what you're doing, but you're a little bit intimidated with people who have established themselves and have money, because that is not familiar with for us.
Right.
So, one thing about me is when I'm doing something, I take all the information and I digest it. You have to be successful, you have to, get as much information you can. So, I would look at things and people in real estate, it is a group of people, so your listeners are like, oh, I might want to get into real estate. And, a lot of people come into this business, I'm just going to be honest, they got daddy's checkbook, and they're only in the business because their daddy or mommy wants them to have a career. Nothing at all. But in the affluent neighborhoods, you generally have these people who, they have backing. I didn't. So I had to wing it. And in business, sometimes that's, when you've got to, swim or sink.
That's what motivates you.
Yeah, it motivates you, keep you from drowning. And especially coming from, our backgrounds. So.
Let me ask you this. As far as like the development of the city and stuff, what is your take on gentrification, especially like in 5 Points and the more black affluent history areas? Because there's a lot of that going on, and then now you see them, moving out to the outskirts of the city, out by Green Valley Ranch and that kind of stuff. What do you think about that?
I was here before any of that happened. And like I said, when I got in the business and I was working in the Cherry Creek office, and Dennis Hip said, hey, what neighborhood are you going to work, Reg? Because people would pick a neighborhood. So, we had 50 agents, and everybody would, I'm working Congress Park, I'm working Park Hill. And I was like, well, my people, or people who look like me, are living in 5 Points. They're living in Park Hill, Curtis Park, all this. And back then, it was 5 Points. It was gang infested, drug infested, really bad. But the gentrification, honestly, I guess I'm a person who thinks of it this way. They were selling their properties to white yuppies from California and wherever they may be coming from. And you know what? I'm a real estate broker, so I can't have any type of prejudice, or you just can't. But I hear people of color in these neighborhoods, oh, these white people moved in and they ruined the neighborhood, and they didn't. The property values of, 5 Points now are upwards of $1 million. When I was in the business, you could buy a house, you could buy 20 houses in 5 Points for 15, 20 grand, because nobody wanted to be there because of the crime and the drugs. And so I think, honestly, personally, I think it was a good thing. Unfortunately, people of color
Don't always see it that way.
They don't see it that way.
When someone comes in,
Yeah.
wants to purchase like a home in 5 Points, right?
Right.
Are they getting good value for their sale?
They were back in the day when the gentrification first started. Now it's the gentrification's happened, and basically 5 Points has become another yuppie Denver neighborhood, subdivision. It really has. Like I said.
But are they getting good value for the sale of their home in nowadays?
If you're a person of color selling at 5 Points, you're getting top. Those houses are, they're 20-fold what they were when I started in the business. You're getting money. Now, what you do with that, and it's also, what do you buy after you sell it, and where can you buy it?
So that you make a profit and it doesn't get sucked into the house.
And like you said, they're selling, and they're looking at places and saying, okay, where are my people going? Montbello, Greenwood Valley, and that's, it's like Highland, it's like Sloan's Lake. That was all Hispanic. all Mexican, Colombian, whatever. It was all Hispanic, the West Side. That got gentrified. They're all in Aurora now, on North Aurora, which was at one time a black neighborhood, until they started selling their houses and moving out there. Then the blacks moved up to, Green Valley. I hear a lot of this.
It's tough to have an opinion about it, because as a person of color, you want to preserve the history, you want to preserve the area, you want the neighborhoods to stay, historically strong and stuff like that. But yet, times are changing, and a lot of people that have sold out probably are in a better situation financially now than they did when they had the home there. You know what I mean?
Oh, they probably are. I don't know if you're interested in hearing this, but I invested in a lot of property on Welton Street, okay? I'm talking big property, like 3/4 of a block, that we were going to turn into condos. High-rise condos, retail on the bottom floor, and this was back when it was just starting to be gentrified. And you could go to the city of Denver and, they had allocation for money. They were going to revamp Welton Street, and they put the light rail in there, and but everybody fought us because they're like, "What? You're gonna put a condo building here? It's gonna ruin the neighborhood." But next thing you know, they sold out. So it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too. You gotta, if you're gonna stand your ground and you wanna, then you've gotta have people show up and stand your ground at the meetings. And I'm a real estate broker, so I'm about the money.
Profit.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, that's what my business is. My business is you buy a property low, you sell it high. Do I care who's selling it to me? I mean, I would say you have some feelings on.
But I mean, you're in the commercial part now, so you're not so connected to the families.
No. But I was. I really was. I really was. And yeah, people complain about it all the time. The problem is in Denver, there's not enough people of color, black people, who, like Mike and these guys who own this place. This is an establishment, and it's been around forever. People know this. They know that people of color own it. There's not gonna, they're not gonna sell out. Just like me, I own Metro Brokers Cherry Creek on 2nd and Steel. I'm going to sell because there's nobody of color, so I'll sell to whoever. But I'm saying it's a different light for me. At first I thought, oh, here they go. They're going to ruin all these neighborhoods. They're going to take all the history out of it. They're going to, but then I started seeing that when it comes down to it, everybody's about a buck. And the people who are mad about the gentrification of these neighborhoods, and somehow I think didn't get to take advantage of the situation as it came up. And truthfully, it wasn't like the city of Denver said, hey, let's start selling these to white people from California. Those people took a risk. I mean, if you're moving into 5 points in the 90s or...
I mean, well, shit.
You're lucky to get shot.
I mean, there's still some,
Yeah, bad patches.
Yes, but in those bad patches that I would consider bad patches,
it's not.
I mean, you got soccer moms with their little babies in their strollers, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on?
Right.
It don't match, you know what I mean?
It doesn't match.
But
especially 5 points.
But I mean, I mean, I don't know. You have to look at the bonuses. You know what I mean? The positive sides of it. You know
what's funny, Shell? Is the only bonus in the gentrification of these neighborhoods. It's like Sloan's Lake. There's Hispanic people walking around today going, oh, I sold my house in 2000 for $300,000. Now that house is worth $1.5 million. That's what they're mad about. They're mad about when they sold it. It wasn't the top of the mark. They're seeing these people who were living in these houses that they knew the families, the friends, it was their history, their kids played with those kids. and they sold it for this price, which was a lot of money for them. But then they saw the growth after.
But a lot of the value of the houses usually come from renovations too, you know? Not
Yeah.
just
Oh, yeah.
the property value.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, you're not gonna, that same house that they had back in the 90s probably looks completely different on
Oh,
the
totally.
inside,
Totally.
which raises the value of the house.
Right.
So,
But then you have, this house is in 5 Points, where black families hanged on and didn't sell. And their house may be run down and they never put really any money into it. And that house back in, when the gentrification was happening, was say $120,000. They're sitting in an old rundown house right now that's worth $800,000 and they're gonna scrape it. So,
I would sell. I mean,
Right,
I mean,
right,
really, I mean,
right.
the 800, where you going, I mean, really,
yeah,
you could still have a really,
Right.
really nice home
somewhere.
and then have
But-
the rest in the bank.
But that's
know.
where people,
But then you're a sellout.
there you go. And unfortunately, I love our people, but,
But I think
and I'm both, I'm Hispanic and black.
Yeah.
That's my mix, so just to let folks know, but, you know what I mean, if you're really about your neighborhood, then show up at the damn meetings when they're talking about they're gonna sell this building to some developer, he's gonna tear it down, and that's when you have the chance to stop that stuff, but
Nobody shows up.
people don't show up. Then they wanna talk about, oh, Jesus Christ, they sold what's his name's building and tore it down. Yeah, cause nobody took in, you're all interested now, but when it was happening,
Let me ask you this. Let's just say somebody came to you for some advice. They have a house in 5 Points right now, and it is worth $800,000. When they bought it, it was only $100. They got They have $700,000 in profit right now if they sold it. What would you tell them? Sell, sell, sell.
I'm a businessman.
I mean, if you think about generational wealth and handing it down,
Yeah.
and I mean, you could really honestly find a nice $400,000 to $500,000 home, which is
Somewhere else in
probably
the burbs.
way better than the house that
Yeah,
they have.
oh, way better.
And then you have $300,000 you could throw in the bank, and then you're already on the board of getting equity built
Right.
up in the new house. So
Well,
I mean,
that's the thing, really-
you have to look at it as a business type of venture, you know.
Well, see, I look at it as business because I've been doing it for almost 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, a home is not a home. To most people, they buy their home, they raise their kids, put marks on the door jamb, it's their home. I see it as stick and stone. It's an investment. I don't care where I've lived. Before I got in real estate, I had that same mindset. Oh, this is my home. I grew up in this house. You have this history. But once you become a real estate broker, it's a whole different thing. You see property as dollars. You don't see it as, oh man, I have some great memories there. You may have all this history in a house you bought. I live right now in the first house I ever bought in Denver that I had for a rental for 20 some years. And I sold my big house and said, screw it, because I didn't need that. So I moved back into my rental property, and I've got all this history with it. But if somebody came up tomorrow and said, hey, I'm gonna write you a check for this, it's gone.
Yeah.
I'm packing my shit and I'm going down the road. Because I paid $82,000 for it, and now they want to offer me $450,000, $500,000. I'm gone. And for me, it's business. Some people, they want the history. They want to look at that. My thing is 78% of the billionaires in America, in the world, made their money in real estate. What's that tell you? I mean, it's the easiest way for people to better their lives and better their situation.
Well, let me ask you one more question. What does a barbershop mean to you?
This barbershop?
Well, just in general, yes, this barbershop.
This barbershop is just great memories and good people, and some crazy times, like when I first started coming. I mean,
I'm sure there's plenty of stories.
Shit we don't even want to talk about on here.
Why not? Because we don't want to incriminate no one, really.
Yeah.
But
No, but when Hollywood's was down, I mean, Roger, you know.
I already know.
And most, people know that those characters from those days, it was out of control.
And then I came.
Huh?
And then I showed up.
Yeah, I mean, but like this barbershop is a staple in this community, okay? And it's people of color who work here and own it and run it, and you know, it's just good people. X and everybody here. I mean, I've been coming here for so long. You know what I mean? I couldn't even think about going over to, like, what is that place, Floyd's or
Wherever.
all this shit, because it's not.
Well, you're family now.
Yeah, it's family. This is once you're here and you come here and you know people, this is a family place. You can talk all the shit you want.
Be yourself.
You can be yourself, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be able to talk this shit in Cherry Creek.
Right.
Because that group of people would be like,
We got it.
holy, what,
Right.
what? Not only did he stay here for 25 years, he really had us fooled. But here, it's just a very good, it's family. It's you know, like, just shit talking, and yeah, I know all these guys so long that, you know, and when, it's funny because when this neighborhood, this is considered Congress Park, okay? Well, part of Congress Park, part of Capitol Hill. But this was a pretty hard area. This is, you know, south of 5 Points. This is like the heart, you know. So, you know, this area got a little bit gentrified, and it's funny because, I mean, it is a black business and black establishment and probably a lot of black customers, but you do get white people coming up in here.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
they catch wind that the
Yeah.
quality we're putting out.
And the
is-
people,
Yes.
and yeah, and that's it.
And I think they're attracted to the culture, you know,
Yeah.
because they don't get that out there.
No, and that's the other thing. You just hit the nail on the head, Shelley. Is in this gentrification, I know a lot of these people who would be considered those people. A lot of these people, they don't have a problem with people of color. They actually respect the culture and understand. Not, you know, they're never going to really understand it 100%,
Right.
but they do.
They're sensitive too.
They're sensitive to it. Their heart is, you know, they know the history. So I don't see it. That's why I said I didn't see it as a bad thing, because, and of course there's some assholes out there. You're gonna get assholes just.
Yeah.
But this is a great establishment.
It's
all
good.
of- yeah, you know.
I'm hoping we'll be here forever.
Well, yeah, this building too this is a historic building in Denver, so I don't think anytime
anywhere.
soon, you know,
No.
unless, and plus Mike's got, you know, Mike
Yeah.
ain't gonna play. You
Yeah.
know, they start talking about selling and
Yeah.
you're gonna turn it into a Waffle House or a freaking, that ain't happening. You know, it's just not gonna happen.
Time out.
Good, cool. Can I make a call right quick?
Yeah. Well, we're actually done, so I'm gonna.
We are?
I'm gonna sign out in just a second.
Damn!
That was quick. Hollywood.
Hey, we're doing a show. Can I call you back? All right. Bye. Keisha, this girl I've been dating.
Is there anything that you want to say extra?
About what? Like,
I mean, is it at least it could stimulate some business for you or anything like that?
I really don't want any business.
Okay.
I'm only here because of you. You're a sweetheart.
Aww.
And, you know, like Mike was saying, you're part of this establishment, you know, whether you're, what did Mike say? From Pueblo?
Yeah, even
Give
though
you
you're from
shit.
Pueblo.
Even though you're from Pueblo. He said, shit, I'm sitting around waiting for Shelley to take us off somewhere big and good. And he means that because he wants to see you do well. So do we all. You got to hear that. So I'm here because I love you. And I think, you know, like Mike said, you know, when you pull us all up and we're all at some, but don't give up on what you're doing. Just keep busting your ass and do it. Because in the end, it's up to you. I'm going to tell you that right now. Because I didn't, you know, that's who I got to be in this business was, and I have a really good life. I really do. I do whatever the hell I want
I'm happy for you.
and travel. But that's because I worked hard. I don't live outside my means. I don't want to drive Mercedes, and I have a regular, you know, car. I mean, I grew up poor.
You're comfortable.
I'm very comfortable, but I also help people, and you just gotta stay the path, y'all. Don't listen to nobody. When it's if they're telling you, oh, she ain't gonna do it, she ain't gonna do that. For me, that's what they did to me when I was starting out. I was like, oh yeah, really? I'm gonna show
Watch
you your
this,
ass.
right?
Watch this shit. Now 25 years later, they're like, that son of a bitch. They can't stand you then, and they won't stand you when you're at the top. So, like Mike said, just keep doing what you're doing. The people who are behind you will support you. And I'm not saying all of our people won't support you. I'm just saying it's unfortunate that we don't, as black people, Hispanic people, and that dynamic right there in itself, those two groups of people should be supporting each other the most, you know what I mean? And we don't. And,
Hopefully one day we'll figure out how to do that.
well, you have to, what it comes from is people like yourself doing shows like this, educating people with different things. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not here because I want business. I don't need that. I really don't. I don't want business. So don't
But
call
it's
me.
nice. The reason I wanted you to come on the show was because it's an opportunity for someone that looks like you, that may be
Right.
younger, that
Right.
say, hey, if he can do it, I can do it. Being
Yes.
one of the only, persons of color, black, Hispanics or
Yeah.
whatever doing.
Well, I'm both.
Yeah, Cherry Creek.
My grandmother was black.
Yeah.
Yeah, my father's side was Portuguese. I'm half Latina, half black. So, yeah, and that's the other thing and that's why I came on, because I knew that's what you're going for, is to try to educate younger people, give them a chance to step up. And I tell people all the time, young people, everybody today wants to get rich quick. Let me tell you, it ain't gonna happen. Unless you hit the lottery, which the odds of that are ridiculous. Or I want to be in the NBA. Good luck with that one too. I want to be an influencer on Instagram. Good luck with that one. The easiest way is to pick something that you love to do, or you really like it. Really like it.
And become the best at it.
80% of people go to work at something they don't like what they're doing. Pick something you like. Doesn't matter what it is. Okay? It doesn't matter. There's a video that you probably need to play for people. It's about a guy, Steve Harvey, had a person who cut his hair.
Oh,
Have
I
you
seen that. Yeah, that's
And
a
that
good
guy
video.
is making like,
He was making like $15-$20 in the beginning, and now
yeah.
he's making
Then Harvey was paying him like $6,000
a haircut.
a haircut, but then he took that money, invested
And at barber school.
in barber schools. And he started barber schools.
Yep.
He started Barbershop.
Now he's
making like $4.5 million a year.
Yeah, it's the same
Yeah.
concept. You have
It
to know how to
doesn't-
reinvest.
It does
Hard work.
not matter what it is. It's if you educate yourself and figure out how to multiply this. You know what I mean? Like this, you're doing this podcast. Someday you're going to have some knucklehead like me or somebody up here, and it's going to go viral, and bam, that's where you're going to go, wait a minute, now I see. It's those steps. And I always tell young kids today, if you're looking to be successful, pick something and grind for 30 years. It sounds like it's painful, but I guarantee you, if you do that, you will be rich at the end. And I'm saying financially, that's financially wealthy.
Sure.
Doesn't mean you're happy. But if you grind and go at it and dissect it and turn every rock, you're going to be a wealthy person. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
That's nice.
It's the work ethic. It's the long term. And if you're a young kid and you're 20 years old or 22 years old getting out of college, why wouldn't you practice that principle? Because by the time you're 55, you're going to be wealthy. You're going to have invested, you're going to have multiplied your money, and then you can say, I pay pretty much right now. Everybody asks me, what do you do? I'm like, I do whatever I want.
That's good.
Yeah, and I'm 55 years old.
Good for
And
you.
because I saw that, and it's not that I don't want to work no more, because I work harder than anybody, but it's a choice.
That's good advice.
It is. It worked for me, because when I got in the business, I said, okay, And I did. I made a lot of money right off. Within 6 months, I was, my best year, I closed 134 houses.
Wow.
I was making big money. I mean, year after year. But I started thinking, like, wait a minute, I'm making all this money, and I'm frugal, so I'm not buying a Mercedes. I'm not buying jewelry. I'm not doing none of that shit. The most I buy is fishing poles and travel. That's my love. So I just started reinvesting it. Then I started realizing as I got older, wow, you can help other people while you're doing this. I don't need that. I don't need what I was producing. And so that's what you should do. You should give back. And that's a problem in our community. A lot of people who get successful don't give back to the people that are like ourselves. And that's wrong. Especially if you're coming from, family didn't have any mother, your mother struggled. You got to give back. It's just right, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of our community, a lot of people do give back, so I don't want to make it seem like, because there's a lot of people who do.
But then you should have intention to do so.
Right, but like you said, we need to figure out in our people, how do we do it like Indians, the Jews, you know what I mean? Because they do. Okay, they one buys a store, 8 families are working for them until they get 6 more stores. You see what I'm saying? So they build each other, they help each other. I have a good friend of mine who's Indian, and one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And him and his wife, that's what they do. They're in India right now for 30 days, meeting some young people who want to come here and start a business. They're giving back, but with their people. And what they do, they bring them here and they live at their house. They put them up
Until they can get
until they get situated, until they get their feet under themselves. They teach them the business. They have a restaurant business.
Wow.
Yeah, and so, and I'm like, why do you do that? And they're like, because we should. They were poor. Yeah, they were super poor people. And I'm quite sure, they're making a few bucks too along the ring. Those people take care of them, but it's the mentality. So this gentrification bullshit, people get mad because they feel like they got cheated. That's what it is. Gentrification, it came up when people said, "Oh, I sold my house for $350,000, and 3 years later it's worth $650,000. Why didn't I get some more money?" Well, you should have hanged on to it for 3 more years. You should have hung on to it for 10.
And it's a gamble,
Yeah.
just like with anything. So nothing's guaranteed that it's going to ever be that high, or the housing.
Let me tell you something.
is-
When I started in Denver, I was like, literally the last 10 years, I've been like, this is, and like I said, I'm a numbers guy. I think it's, like, is the prices going to go down? I'm waiting for the crash. Denver will never have a crash because this city was built on the gentrification. People coming from California or Texas who sold bigger houses, smaller, for way more money. So to them, they're buying $1 million house in 5 Points. The house they sold in San Francisco was $3.5 million, and it was smaller. So they're like, oh, well, if we lose $200,000 in the market, what does it matter? See what I mean? So that's the mentality. So Denver's going to have its down, but not huge. We've never had a big down. I've seen 3 upcycles in the whole time I've been here. And Denver real estate market's on an 11-year cycle. So every 11 years, we're at 11 years right now, and it's going to do this, and then most of the time Denver does this and levels out, and the rest of the nation does that. But we're going to see a little more dip than we normally do, but it'll level out, and then 7 years from now, it'll pick up again. Like, people will be like, oh, I want to move to Denver.
Well, come on over.
No, I'm sick of these people.
And one of Denver's best here. Well, all right, Denver, we'll check you out next time over here at Hollywood's Barbershop with Chopping Up with Shelly, and Reggie was in the house. So, Denver, we'll see you next time.
Have a good night.